Hey, what's up, fellas? We're doing a job for Andrew today. This is a custom build. He has requested a vertical mount burner with legs on it that just sits there. They can shoot a flame directly up into the air, into a boiler system they have, and they want to be able to just drag the burner out from underneath the system when they need to inspect it or do any work to it. Basically what we're going to be seeing in this video is me testing the pilot light system to ensure that it fires back up every time it's turned off. Here's another quick look at what we got going on, and that is the pilot light that you see, but when you turn the air on it kind of pulls at it a little bit and thins it out so you can't really see it anymore. We do have 100% success rate on ignition. Every time I go to light this thing with the pilot light on, it fires right up. No problem there whatsoever. So I am happy about that. And I'm really happy how well this thing works in the vertical position altogether. I've never fired one of the silicon carbides like this before. However, we do need to reposition this pilot light because, as you see, when I turned it off there, the pilot light blew out on me. So I'm just kind of fiddling around with it here to try and see what this thing likes. You know, I'm learning this thing right here. I haven't yet figured out where I want this pilot light to be. The position it's in now is not going to do. It does light the burner every time. You can see here it did stay on that time. I'm just kind of messing with the volume of how high the pilot light goes with that little needle valve there. So we have 100% ignition success rate. However, when I shut the thing down, occasionally something happens to the pilot light and it gets blown out. And I think it's just too much air is being pulled by the Ventura. So I'm not quite sure what I want to do to mitigate this. I have the idea of placing a different hole in the back of the burner away from the Venturi nozzle itself. There's another look. So yeah, as you can see, it's pretty much fires up every time. Ignition isn't the problem. It's when it goes out or when we turn it off. If we turn it off at too high of a level, or if we turn it up too high, the flame, the pilot light gets sucked out, essentially. So that's what happens. It'll run just fine if you run it at some of these levels that we see here. But if you try running in the air too much higher than this, so much draft is caused that it's blowing out the pilot light. So when the burner goes out and you go to light it back up, the pilot light's been blown out by all the turbulence of the high flame settings or the high velocity setting mode. So to mitigate that, I think what I'll do, see there, it shut off just fine. That's what we want to see every time though. That's too big for a pilot light, and I understand that. I'm just kind of seeing what happens here as far as any type of ignition, let alone an ideal ignition. It seems like it's going to do okay. This is diesel fuel. I understand you're using kerosene, Andrew, but I don't have any kerosene on hand. So here's some other clips of this thing in action just so you can see the performance of the burner itself, kind of aside from the pilot light system. It's doing really well in the vertical position. There's no fluid dripping out of it or none of that stuff. It's not splattering fuel all over the place or anything. So there's a couple more tests. You can see we get ignition every time. And if, as long as the burner isn't turned up, you know, above 60 kilowatts, the pilot light's okay right where it's at. But I don't want to be in a scenario where we shut this thing off and the pilot light goes off and it goes to kick back on again and we're spraying fuel all over the place. So we do got that going on. We're looking at about 160 kilowatts there. Not now, I'm kind of messing with the air input at this time. Here's a different flame mode. This is the high velocity mode right here. This burns the fuel very well. That's diesel fuel contaminated with some waste oil. Just a little tiny dab of waste oil, just some residual that was in the tank. but that's enough to change the color a little bit. So this thing's running phenomenal. I'm definitely happy with how it's running. We just got to move this pilot light to a better location. So I'm going to pull this thing back out of White Sands here and probably cut a hole in the bottom of that burner plate and see what we can do. That is 180 kilowatts. Well, probably about 170 kilowatts right there. That's probably the maximum that I would run this burner at. Here's another quick look at it, but we're not done seeing this. We got one more test, guys. I want to mess with this pilot light so it doesn't go out on us on shutdown. Alright fellas, the rest of this is just some GoPro footage of me jacking around with this thing and making a bunch of really weird faces. I'm sure you got better things to do, but for the most part I'm very happy with how this thing's working. Just need a couple of adjustments on that pilot light and I'm good to go. This thing will be in a box headed your way, Andrew. I just fortunately it's like 1 o'clock in the morning right now, so it'll be late afternoon before I get this thing headed your way.